Hey guys, today we're going to remove the rear bumper cover off of the 2022 C8 Corvette. Now we've already removed the rear wheel liner. If you didn't see how that process happened, go ahead and check out my other video for that information. Otherwise, today we'll remove all the bolts out of the rear bumper on the Corvette, and I will show you how to lift the bumper cover off of the vehicle. If you like what you see today, hit the like and subscribe button. Check us out for more content in the future, and let's go and learn something. Alright, well, let's open up the rear hatch of this Corvette. What we'll notice is, well, there's an engine back here and very minimal trunk space. But if you're a Corvette owner, you already know that. What we also do see is there are 16 holes where there used to be T25 Torx bolts in here. I've already removed these bolts. I am showing you the location of these 16 bolts. Something to be aware of is that in the corner of the quarter panels there is a T25 bolt back there. Be very aware of that bolt location. You will need to remove those. Coming around the outside of the vehicle now, you can see that we've removed the wheel liner out of the vehicle. You can see this in one of my other episodes. Removing the wheel liner gives us good access to get to these two 7mm bolts here that attach the bumper cover to the quarter panel. Now you'll have these two 7mm bolts, and then you will also have a 10mm nut located to the rear of the bumper cover. Now I like using a electric ratchet when removing my nuts and bolts from my vehicles. If you don't have an electric ratchet, that's just fine. A simple socket and socket wrench will work just fine. It is easier to get to some of these bolts and removing them with an electric ratchet, but there again, not necessary. I've removed now my 7mm bolts and my 10mm nut. 10mm nut is right about here on the bumper cover. I'm going to check to make sure that everything is loose on the bumper cover and that I haven't missed a nut and bolt. Let's go around to the right side of the vehicle. It gets a little more difficult here. Now, as saying an electric ratchet comes in handy, this is where it really comes in handy. The 10mm bolt located at the rear of the bumper cover is really hard to get to inside the right side of the bumper cover. You have the emissions evaporator canister up here and all the hoses that go to the evaporator canister, so it gets really difficult to get a socket wrench way back into this area. Here again, an electric ratchet is handy, but you can struggle through with a regular socket wrench and socket. Let me show you a little closer where this 10mm nut is located on the stud. You can see that I focused in, and it is right here behind all these hoses. Here again, an electric ratchet comes in very handy here, but the traditional socket wrench is not out of the question and can be used. It just takes a little more time. We're going to check the bottom of our bumper cover, make sure I've removed all the bolts out of the bottom. 6 bolts have already been removed with the 2 wheel liners that I removed, and I'm just double checking that there's nothing in the center and that the bottom of the bumper is good and loose. I'm going to make sure I also didn't miss any bolts up top, giving a little tug on the bumper cover, double checking that there's nothing on top. Now that I'm certain all my nuts and bolts have been removed, let's take a look at the storage system I use to house all the nuts and bolts while they're out of the bumper cover. Here is a handful of nuts, bolts, and clips from my wheel liner. And we're going to gather these up and stick them inside of these containers that you can buy at Harbor Freight Tools for a couple of dollars. They're very handy, multiple compartments. You can label all the compartments with different storage. Here you can see I have a left and right wheel liner, rear bumper cover. Also want to point out I have the 2 bolts off of the side inside bumper cover. Remember this spot right there? I told you don't forget about those. They're hidden, so don't forget about those. All of our fasteners are now securely tucked away. Our container is clearly labeled for when we go to reassemble the vehicle. We can go ahead and start removing the rear bumper cover. Now what you want to do is lift up slightly on the rear bumper cover and then pull away from the body of the vehicle. You want to do this on both sides. It's very handy to have 2 people do this, as each person would lift up and then pull back, and then you can pull the rear bumper cover back and remove your electrical connectors. Now if you don't have 2 people, you can always put the bumper cover on, I don't know, I've seen it done with a couple of tires underneath the bumper cover to support it, while you are trying to remove the electrical connectors. The electrical connectors have a red locking tab that you need to pry up on, and then underneath that locking tab is just a regular push tab that you need to press to release the connectors from one another. I'll show you this here in a little bit more in depth after we get the bumper cover off. But it's much easier with 2, maybe 3 people to do this. If not, like I said, a set of tires or something to hold the bumper cover up is handy. Now here's a little fun something. If you look just above me, there is a bedside for a Ford Carroll Shelby Edition F-150 truck that I worked on. The truck got hit in the rear and buckled the rear of the frame rails to where I had to cut the rear of the frame rails off and replace them. Now Ford sells a section for this. I cut it all at the factory seams, put it all back together, and we had a Ford Carroll Shelby Edition truck once again. Alright, back to my video. Okay, we have our electrical connectors disconnected. Now we can fully separate the bumper cover away from the body of the car. I'll go ahead and set up this bumper cover on a bumper stand, and we'll look at the underside of the bumper cover and the back of the vehicle to understand what's going on. Smile, you're on camera. Alright, so let's take a look and see what we have first. So first of all, on the back of the vehicle, here are the electrical connectors that I struggled with for a little bit. You can see the red locking tab. It slides up to release and you push it down to lock it back in. This is the camera wire. The other part of it has the tab on it. Here's the other connector. You slide down to lock it in, slide up to unlock it, and press the red release tab to release the 2 connectors from one another. Once again, I'm going to point out, here is the stud that has the 10mm nut on it that holds the bumper cover on. That's the one you have to lift the bumper cover off of. Alright, well let's go look inside of the bumper cover itself now to see what the connectors look like on that side. Here again, there's the white connector that the one plug snaps into. Here's the camera connector, and there is our red locking tab on that one, and the black release tab that you need to push on to release the connector. And here is the other black connector. Makes it kind of nice that they're color coded, and so you can snap it all back together. Hey, if you guys liked what you saw today, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in future episodes. Thanks for watching.